Hi, Emma. How you
My God,
doing?
you look gorgeous.
Well,
Are you
you
going to a party or is this just for me and Adam?
know. Well, of course it's for you and for Adam, but this is primarily for Princess Diana. I am super excited about our guest today. I just wanted to look nice for her. I haven't broke out these earrings since Whitney Houston.
Ah! And you got your own little tiara.
You know what? This is actually a pearl headband, and I wore it when Greg and I got married.
Oh, I love it. It looks nice. You look great. And she's going like this with her hands. Excellent choice.
Well, thank you, darling. This thing is imbued with love, and you are nothing but love. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. She is so beloved. She actually transitioned on my youngest son's 13th birthday. And I will
Oh,
never, never forget that day. The world was in such shock. I have to tell you, Princess Diana and John F. Kennedy, those two deaths just absolutely knocked the breath out of me, floored me. Thank you
yeah.
so,
I
so
remember too.
much.
I remember too. I was pretty young, but I remember that it was all over. Every channel you turned on TV was about that, and
Yeah.
but she was loved all over the world, and it's I think she had a lot of struggles, and she had a lot of negative experiences with this lifetime. Um, you know, because
Yeah.
I mean they would talk about it for days and days and days and weeks and weeks and I remember, and this might seem silly, but I actually remember because, I think Princess Diana, I mean, I was born in 81. So, I think that was the year she got married or something because I remember my mom talking about that. Oh, that was your birthday. My mom was crazy about Princess Diana. She even had the haircut. When my mom got married, she had the Diana haircut, and she used to
Aw.
have very long hair. And so when my dad saw my mom and she went from hair all the way to her butt,
Oh,
all of a sudden
wow.
to a Diana haircut, he was like, "Oh my God." He didn't see that one coming. But I
Wow.
remember my mom loved her sense of fashion and she looked stunning. And she had this shyness about her and this kind of innocence, I think. And that
Yeah.
really, it really, my mom really adored her. So uh, I remember seeing those images and I remember thinking, those boys don't have a mom anymore and they're still so young,
Oh.
that moved me the most was seeing their faces and just thinking about in a way they're kind of left left alone because I always felt that their mama was yeah was the drive behind their fun and their passion and their, just kind of being kids, not,
Sure.
hey, you're royalty and you have to act like that. So I'm pretty sure she's going to want to talk about the boys here.
That's going to be so exciting. Let's say hello to everybody first. Hi, folks. Thanks so much for watch.
Walking into the show. Adam saying, "You got it, Mom." They are walking into this show.
Thanks
You're
so
doing
much
great.
for walking. I want to say it again. Okay. Thanks so much for
No, he's
walking and
messing
for
with you.
talking and for watching. This is hilarious. You know what? It's only 11 o'clock in the morning. I promise you, folks, I am stone cold sober. My tongue must just be tied in a knot. Thanks so much for
Oh,
watching,
Lord.
folks. So, before we start, I want to introduce ourselves and what we're doing here. I'm Cindy Williams Adams. This is world renowned medium Emma McIntosh, and we are here with you with my son, Adam Hamel, who transitioned at the age of 27 as a result of injuries sustained in a car accident. Adam was an organ donor. He started talking to me while his body was still on life support, and he's been talking to me ever since. So today we're going to share Adam with you, and Adam's guest today is the most beloved, most beautiful Princess Diana. Welcome, Diana.
She's saying thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity to reach so many people through your channel.
My pleasure.
She's so her energy feels so, I just want to give her a hug, you know? It
Yeah.
just feels so loving. So, I don't know. She really feels lifted, is what it feels like. I don't know if that makes any sense,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's almost like she's this other, I don't know, she's on this other platform, this other frequency that feels heavenly, that feels angelic, and she's so
Oh,
beautiful. So she's saying, if I may, I would like to take this opportunity um, to give a shout out to my boys.
oh, of course.
She's kind of asking you. um, she's saying, first of all, I just want to congratulate Harry,
Oh,
she says.
yes.
She's saying, good choice.
Oh, that's
um,
wonderful. I'm
she,
getting goosebumps. I know your future daughter-in-law is that's going to mean so much to her.
he's saying, I just wanted him to know that I'm glad that he followed his heart and that he's allowing his emotions to do the talking and to take the action, and not allowing other people's criticism to make the decisions for him. So I'm very happy, and I'm so proud of him that he followed his heart in this journey. She says to Rachel, she says a lot of people know her as Megan, but her true name is Rachel.
Oh.
I like Rachel, she says.
Aw.
I like the name Rachel. Um, I just want to say thank you for choosing and taking care of my boy. And I just want to say welcome to the family. And I want you two to know that I will be present at every important occasion. And I am watching over all of you every minute of every day. So thank you for, in some way or form, following my advice that I gave you a long time ago. And I love you very, very much, Harry, she says.
Aw.
She says, and to my beautiful William, she says, my little wombat.
Wombat.
She says that's his nickname. She says, don't tell anybody. He gets embarrassed by it.
We won't tell
Um,
anyone.
she says, I just want you to know, and I want Kate to know that I love you both very, very much.
Aw.
Um, just a little bit of advice, she says. Um, know that this is a teamwork between you two. And the only thing that's important in this journey is how you approach it together and how you communicate with one another. If you can increase communication and really understand that all that matters is your relationship, despite the difficulties that will come ahead, um, as long as you stick together, as long as you appreciate, respect, and are completely honest with one another, everything will work out really great. And she says, just know that when it comes to the children, little George is going to be a handful in a few years, just so you know, but I will be there to help you with them. Um, and she says, in regards to Charlotte, let's just say that Charlotte and I share the same soul, that we are from the same higher self. So in a way, Charlotte is my reincarnation. Um, and
Wow.
let's just say that she's my little princess. She's my little princess, and I love her very, very much. You guys will be great, as long as you don't allow others to make the decisions for you. Do what's in your heart, do what feels right, and you will always be right on track. And just know that I'm with you guys as well every day, talking to you, guiding you, and loving you. Okay?
Oh my gosh,
She
what a
says,
press.
I wanted, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to them.
This is your show. This is your show. This is your platform, your forum. You may use it to share whatever you'd like to share.
She says, well, as you may know, I'm not a big fan of, you know, talking in public and being in the spotlight, she said.
Right.
However, from a new perspective, I now understand that all of that had function and all of that had meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make it clear. I think a lot of people, when they review your life, because you know you get your own life's review over here, but
Right.
when you're a celebrity, people at home will also have a whole review of your life and will have their own way of looking at things and their own
Right.
just their own mindset about it. And a lot of people have viewed my life as tragic. A lot of people have viewed my life as sad. Um, and yes, from my personal human experience, it did not feel pleasant. It did not feel that it went the way I wanted it to go. But from a spiritual perspective, I can now see that all of that was necessary in order to make the certain changes into the royal house, into
Mm.
how kings and queens and prince and princesses will be ruling in the future.
Oh.
So, in a way, I changed. Um, let's just say I modernized royalties in the kingdom. She says I also in my uh, in my understanding of my review brought the country back together, and I think not everybody would see it that way, but it was a time where people were were not doing so well in Britain. There was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people out of jobs. So there was a lot of distress amongst the people of Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And people were starting to turn against everybody who had it easy, who had power. And so people were starting to become very critical of the royal family. They were starting to see them as, you know, they're just rich and they don't do anything for us. They were criticizing them constantly. And when I came into the picture, they saw themselves. They saw a regular girl
Mm-hmm.
who, yes, I was privileged. Where I came from, I was privileged. I didn't experience it as privilege because money sure as hell does not make you happy. um, but they saw me as an equal. I was a very shy, very young lady, she says, and in a way, I brought happiness back. They were excited. They were
Yes, they were.
a little bit too excited, she says, because it became very hard for me to live life.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I gave people something beautiful to look forward to. Um, you know, people sometimes need something positive in their journey when they're going through a rough time. And my new face in Britain, we hold the royal family very dear. My new face kind of brought joy back into the country, and she says, don't, I, I'm not saying I fixed the country. I'm just saying I gave them something else to focus on. I changed their perspective from always focusing on the negative things that were happening at the moment and turned it into a very positive focus. So it was a distraction that would help people to change their vibration from a negative to a positive. So that's how I'd like to see it.
That is
But
huge.
um, so she says, you know, I see life now as a success. I brought two beautiful boys into this world who are going to make changes, very positive, compassionate changes in the future. They're going to change the way that countries are ruled, and they're going to show what it is to take care of a people, to take care of each other. They're going to be they're a new generation in the making, and I like to see that I was a contributor to that. So we're heading in a more compassionate direction when it comes to the human race, and they're going to be a start of that. They're going to be a starting point of that. So I'm very, very proud of them that they stay true to who they are, just the way that I taught them, and that, it doesn't matter where or who they marry or how everything works out, as long as they do everything according to their heart, it's always going to work out the way it's supposed to be. Well, she says, there's so much, I don't know what to all share with you. There are so many videos out there about me. I guess I can share a little bit about my childhood. Maybe it'll give people a little bit more of an understanding on why things happened, and why I made the decision to marry Charles, knowing that he had a thing for Camilla.
Okay.
I was already very aware of that before we got married.
Okay.
So looking at my childhood, I did grow up in a privileged home. My family had been very close to the royal family for centuries. We were wealthy, but I grew up in an environment where there were a lot there was physical abuse between my parents. My father would hit my mom. My mom was very depressed. She would cry every weekend. So I remember one time standing behind the door, peeking in, and he would just smack her in the face, and she would just be crying. And so that was how my parents were as I grew up. As long as I can remember, it was like that. And then one day, mother just disappeared. And they had told us, me and my sister and my brother, that she was on vacation. She was on holiday, is what they told me. Later on, we found out that she had left, and she wanted a divorce. And in a way, as children, we felt abandoned because she just left us there. She didn't say anything. She just took off because she couldn't take it anymore. And so you get this sense of abandonment. And my father went into really bad depression after that. On top of that, my whole life, I don't remember I don't remember once getting a hug, receiving a hug from my father. So we were practically raised by nannies. She says we were practically raised by nannies, and so the emotional bit was missing as I grew up. We didn't have the hugs and the kisses and having fun with your family. Everything was very controlled. Everything was very neutral. And even the nannies were very neutral. They were not supposed to hug us or kiss us or anything like that. So it's very hard when you grow up in an environment like that and you've never known what love is, and you've never known, what it means to have a family. So as I got older, I became very withdrawn. I loved going to school. I was always in boarding school, so away from the family. But I kind of liked it because, my friends were my family. I actually had a better connection with my friends than I did with my father or my mother. So, I was goofy, and I loved to sometimes get in trouble. She says, she's just kind of going, yeah, I liked getting in trouble because I got attention when I got in trouble. But I was a very creative soul, and it was because of growing up in an environment where emotions and love were not portrayed or discussed. I really didn't know how to express my feelings and how to deal with what I felt because I didn't understand it. So being a creative soul, I would go into dancing. I did
Oh.
ballet for a little bit. And then I went into tap dancing and drove everybody crazy at home. I would tap from morning to evening. But I also liked reading and a little bit of everything, painting. Um, but when I danced, I could express what was in here,
Mhm.
what I couldn't express verbally or physically. I wouldn't go and hug people.
Right.
Um, I would express through dancing, through art. And at one point, I got really obsessed, she says, with novels, romantic novels.
Oh,
She had a
yeah.
whole bunch of novels. I would read these little books, she says,
Yeah.
all about these love stories. And so I
Oh.
created this fantasy in my head on what love is supposed to be, and it was all about royalties, and so I started creating this illusion of what a relationship is, of what a relationship should look like. um, Really, they're a completely wrong image. I mean, can you imagine basing truth on these romantic novels? um,
As all of us did.
so
Lots of us.
yeah. I really became obsessed by them. I would read several books a day sometimes.
Wow.
I really became obsessed with
Wow.
them. So, growing up, I kind of, yeah, I never had a boyfriend. Um, and Charles we would meet each other sometimes on occasion, and then he was kind of a ladies' man. Everybody knew he had different relationships, and even my my oldest sister was dating him for a very short amount of time.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah, and she actually, after they kind of, I guess, separated, she introduced me to him, like, personally, and he was very nice to me. He was, how they are, very proper and keep your distance and all of that. But I never thought, oh my God, this is the person I'm gonna get married to.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, yeah, okay, he's nice. Okay, that was about it. And me not having much experience, with basically having no relationships ever.
Yeah.
I was had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what he was doing. So we saw each other off and on, very, not holding hands, not kissing, nothing like that. Just kind of, hey, you want to take a walk with me? Should we go for a stroll over there? Do you want to join me to do this event? Just every now and then. I think we might have met maybe a dozen times before he asked me to marry him. And
Wow. Were you shocked?
so I thought he was making a joke.
I imagine.
I really, I really thought he was making a joke. But he was very serious. And, you know, I said yes because I thought, well, I guess this is how it goes. You get married first, because don't forget I was a virgin, and the for the royal house, that was very important. He needed to marry a virgin, believe
Of
it or not. I
course.
know for a lot of Americans out there, that might be a weird concept, but you needed to be pure. He needed to marry somebody who was pure,
Mhm.
and he couldn't marry someone who was divorced, for instance. And he really loved Camilla. from the beginning. He
Right.
loved being with her. He loved having a relationship with her, which he did. Um, but she was divorced, so she was not an option for marriage.
Right.
And he was already in his 30s. I was just barely getting 19, but he was already in his 30s. So a lot of pressure was coming from the family and from the country. Hey, you need to settle down here and then produce an heir. So he picked me not because he loved me,
Hmm.
but because I was acceptable for, he thought I was somebody that he could handle being married to. Um, and I had all the qualities. I was of good, good origin. I never had a relationship. I was pretty. I was shy and intimate. So I guess he marked off all his little list of what a queen should look like. And so I was approved by the family. But from my perspective, when he asked me to marry him, I did the weirdest thing. All of a sudden, I thought, I'm in love with him. And so as soon as I said yes, I kept saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Aw.
Because I didn't know what love was. I don't know what love is. I don't even know what a relationship is supposed to look like. If you have
Sure.
zero experience, you're just, and don't forget, I was so young and I was so immature.
Hmm.
You don't know what you're doing. You're just kind of jumping in and going, oh my God, I'm marrying a prince and he's going to love me forever and we're going to be, happily ever after. Don't forget, I had that kind of illusion build up in my mind. So yeah, I just went, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, because I thought that's what you do when somebody asks you to marry you. And he just said, his answer was, well, I guess it all depends on how you experience love or how you see love. So that should have been a clue right there, that he didn't see it as love, but he saw it as some kind of love. Um, but you're young and you don't know any better, and so you're just like, oh, okay. And what a lot of people don't know, that as soon as I did become the fiance, I did know that he said he wasn't, but I did have a feeling that he was seeing Camilla still. He was visiting her.
Oh, okay.
Um, so, but and I did at one point talk to my sister and tell her, I can't do this. He's in love with someone else. I can't do this. And my sister said, well, it's too late. Your face is all over all over the news, and it's all been printed on every piece of silverware in England. So there's no way out. That was basically
Hmm.
what she told me. So I went ahead and I thought, okay, well, maybe when the marriage is done, then he'll fall in love with me, and will still, he'll be faithful to me because we're now married. Those are the things that, again, a naive person dreams about.
Sure.
But, I was young, so why not? And yes, that was really my hope, that he would be faithful as soon as we got married, and really focus on us as a family. But unfortunately, that never happened. And so I became very self-destructive, not because I wanted to hurt myself, but I wanted to be loved and I wanted attention, and he was never there. He was always off going, going to polo, or he always had somewhere to be. And I was always left behind. So we didn't really have a relationship. It was, just for the pictures that we would come together, and other than
Right.
that, he was somewhere else and I was somewhere else. So I became very self-destructive, and I um, started getting bulimia, and I started having all kinds of health disorders, and she says it's so hard when you can't give yourself love because you don't know how. And I always wanted love from my father, and I always wanted love from my mother, and I didn't receive it in the way that I wanted to receive it. And so in Charles, in a way, I was still asking for my dad's love,
Right.
only in Charles' form. And so when I didn't receive that, let's just say that you start losing control over
Right.
your mind, and you start seeing things, and you start creating problems, and you really kind of lose your mind when you feel unloved, and when you feel that the husband that you just married is off with someone else already. It
Aw.
is devastating, and it is heart-wrenching. And if only I knew how to self-love, if only I knew at that moment how to take care of myself, it would have been a different story. Um, so it took me a long time to figure that out. And so when William was born, we did have, a couple of months where it really felt like we were a family. So he did kind of come back, and, we were very happy then. We had a good moment. Um, and then after a few months, again, it would start to fade away. And so let's just say that William, in a way, was my savior because I had someone to take care of, and someone to love, and someone loved
Yeah.
me back,
Sure.
unconditionally. This little baby, and they would tell me, no, the nannies need to raise him. And I said, no, no, this is my baby, and I'm going to raise him. And so I broke that tradition, because in the royal family, nobody gets raised by their family. You get raised by nannies. That's how it goes. That's the tradition. And it's supposed to be. So, in a way, Charles never had the love either.
Right.
He never did. So, he didn't know what love was.
Wow.
So that's, that, that's really, my childhood, because I still call, even after my marriage, my childhood, because I didn't grow up, I think, she says, until
You're right.
so many years later, where I finally started to realize that my cries for help, because the bulimia, the suicide attempts, yes, I did commit suicide. I can hear people thinking suicide. I did try to commit suicide
Tried
at least
to.
5 times. Try to, yeah. Um, just to get his
Oh,
attention. I mean, I
sad.
remember I was pregnant, and he was taking off again. And I wanted his attention so badly, I threw myself down a flight of stairs while pregnant. And he just didn't he didn't take a second look. He just left me there at the bottom of the stairs. He just looked at me and said, pathetic. And he left, and when his mom came in, she was hysterical, of course. Um,
Of course.
but, that's the mental abuse that I had to go through. I didn't have physical abuse, I had mental abuse. And yeah, it was really hard to kind of turn that around. But there comes a time where you're at the deepest black hole you can imagine, and you have these two beautiful children who are looking up to you. And I was reminded by my mother, she went through physical abuse and the mental abuse, and I was
Right.
going through a similar thing, but she ran. And I remember how that made us feel. And I would not do that to my children. And that's when that point came where I said, enough is enough. I am not going to turn into my mother, and I'm going to turn this around. And so I did what I needed to do to keep my sanity, to
Mm-hmm.
become healthy again, because
Good for
I was
you.
sick for years. And I turned things around, and I eventually did something that had never been done in the history of man, That was, I asked for a divorce in a royal family, which was not, was not an easy choice. I believed that the country would turn against me, and but they didn't. They saw my pain and they supported me, and I was very surprised by that. There were people, of course, who were not, of course, but most people saw the pain and they saw that I wasn't happy. And when the book came out, while we were still married, which I had recorded in secret uh, on tapes with a friend of mine, and then was sent to the writer, and my book came out with what had been going on with me. I got so much support from women who went through similar things, and and she says, I understood at that moment that what I was going to do, requesting a divorce, um, publicly, you get the chance of being publicly humiliated. Um, I didn't just do it for me, but I did it for all those women out there who were going through the same thing, to give them the courage to stand up for themselves and to say, enough is enough. I deserve love. I deserve someone who cares about me, who respects me, and who's willing, and who would love nothing more but to share this lifetime with me. To make those memories, not out of obligation, not out of duty, but just because you love me. And that's what I was looking for. So
Did you
I
find
eventually
that?
started doing things on my own. Not in a romantic relationship. I found it in my boys. They were my happiness. They were my unconditional love. Love can come in many forms and many shapes, she says. And my children were the love of my life. And I did have other relationships after Charles. However, they were more for me, she says, to figure out who I was, to discover who I was. Because if you've never been in a relationship and then you get married to someone who doesn't really want to be in a relationship with
Right,
you still don't have any idea what a relationship is supposed to be like.
right. It's
And
one sided.
right. And so I needed to experience relationships where the partner really cared about having fun with me and doing things together and sharing memories and creating, experiences together. Um, and so I did that, not with many. Don't she's going, I was not crazy. She said I was very careful because I didn't want to be in an abusive relationship again. So there were only two, is what she'd say. There were only two. Um, but yeah, it was more for self-discovery. It was more for self-development, for understanding myself in a relationship, who I could be in a relationship, and who knew where that relationship might have gone. I wasn't holding on to expectations anymore as
Mm-hmm.
I did before. Before I married Charles, I had an idea in my head on how it was all going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned to let that go, and I learned to really live one day at a time, and to really enjoy the time that I had. um, I'm not going to say without the paparazzi, because they were always there. They were
I'm sure
mean,
they
they were
were.
vicious, they were
Oh,
sharks. Privacy was so hard to come by, but I still tried to make the best of every day after that. And so I started to really focus on helping everyone out there who needed help, who needed some love, you know. And I was already doing that before the divorce. I would stand up for people who had AIDS, because don't forget, in that time, people were very terrified of AIDS because there
yeah.
was not that much known about it. Even doctors in the hospitals wouldn't treat people with AIDS because they were worried they were going to get it.
Oh, wow.
And that was the time that we were in. And so I was, and here comes me, little thin old Diana, who just hugs and gave these people who have AIDS a handshake and showing the
Aw.
people, hey, see, you're okay. You can touch him, you can hug him, you can give him a handshake. You're not going to get it. So I really wanted to become a spokesperson for the rejected. I really wanted to become a spokesperson for the people who didn't receive the love and the respect that they deserved. And so I would stand up for people with AIDS. I would do older people, you know, just everything that I could get my hands on, where I could be of help to bringing some light to these people, some awareness of others to these people. I would do so. Going to Africa, I loved going to Africa. They have such a gentle spirit, um, and they truly see life completely different than we do. They have so much courage, and they have so much enlightenment inside of them. They're really an inspiration for me, she says. And so I'm glad that I got to support all of these causes and share some light on these problems that we all so desperately try to ignore or try to forget that they are actually happening at this moment. So I would encourage everyone to help one person a day. You know, whether it is giving someone a meal who's homeless, whether it is giving someone a blanket or a hug, or just talking to a person who needs to be, who needs a conversation. Try and help one person a day, and we can change the world together. If everyone would do that, then, the smallest gift um, can change people's hearts. The smallest token of affection can bring a smile to a person's face and completely lighten up his day. So don't
Wow.
ignore the people out there, she says, who need us, who need our help, who feel left out, who feel unloved, and embrace them as the beings of light that they really are. See them for their true nature. And if we would all help each other, then we can turn things around very quickly. So that is my deepest message to everyone. And I hope I made that impact on people with everything that I did with the Diana funds that you can still donate to. Um, Help each other, love each other, respect each other, no matter how different an individual is from you. We all deserve love and we all deserve compassion. And I think just opening your heart to a stranger can not only change their lives, but will also change your life. Okay?
What a beautiful message for all of you out there who love Princess Diana. She just showed us how we can show our love for her by showing it to each other. One good deed a day for somebody else.
One good deed a day. Yeah. Adam says, he says, if we follow Diana's advice and we help one person a day, whether it is something simple like saying hello and good morning and how are you with a big smile, um, you will raise their frequency up and you will raise your frequency because you'll instantly feel gratification and love in your heart and go, wow, that was actually easier than I thought. So many people pass by each other every day. They don't even look up, they don't say hello.
I know.
Uh, uh, we just pass by each other like spirits, like ghosts.
Yeah,
We're not the spirits in here. The spirits are on earth. They're just
right.
like shadows one another who are just passing by and they're not even making a connection. Just making a connection to a person will instantly raise your vibration. And when your vibrational frequency rises, you will attract more higher frequencies, more happiness, more abundance, more joy into your life. And so say hello to everyone you meet. Okay, just try it as an experiment. and see how many
Wow.
people say hello back. He says, say hello to every stranger you meet and see how their change, how their facial expressions change from being neutral,
Mm-hmm.
away in the mind,
Just gone.
to your hello
Wow.
on, and your hello will bring him back to the now, and you will
Right.
see that smile arise. And in that moment, you made a change, you made a difference in his day or her day. Okay? So it's so simple, people, but it has a huge impact. So try it out. Everybody
Oh
says
my
hello
gosh.
and
I
good morning
love
and how
that.
are you?
Adam he is such a sweet soul. How, my boy, love you, Adam, by the way. How does it feel
I love you too, Mama.
to be in the presence of Princess Diana?
He says, well, if I could marry her, I would. He says,
Mama would have
just
been very
joking.
proud of you if you brought Princess Diana home. Let's just say that.
I am honored and I'm privileged that she wanted to share this moment with us, he says, because she's such an inspiration and she truly was an angel amongst humans.
Yes,
Uh,
an earth angel.
yeah, and yes, she went through a lot of personal pain and a lot of growth, if we want to look at it that way. She really
Right.
she really learned a lot in this journey. But she moved people, and how many people, Mom, he says, can say that they turned a whole country around by just being her?
Yeah, just by being
That's
her
it. She was just
sweet
her.
self. Yeah, I know. So amazing. I mean, people could finally relate to a royal.
Right. And it's her energy. She just had
Yeah.
to get out of a car and smile.
Hmm.
Her energy was so compassionate that people fell in love with her right there and then. Everybody wanted to marry her, everybody wanted to be her. And that is because she had this soothing, comforting, loving energy. She had no judgment whatsoever, and all she wanted to do was love and really help people. That's really what her mission was on Earth, and I think she provided that, and she did succeed in that, and she provided, she helped her boys to stay true to who they are and to, she gave them a normal childhood in a lot of
Right.
ways. She would try and keep things as normal as possible. Of course, it wasn't easy to do, but she
Sure.
tried her best so they could still experience what life is all about. Because when you're born and you're supposed to become a king one day, your privileges are, are being stripped, and
Sure.
you are every day prepared to become something or someone that's really not you. It is a job, but it's not who you are. And so she made sure that her boys knew who they were and what their qualities were, and to stay true to themselves. And that is going to help even more people in the future. So just her impact on this world is enormous. And so I feel blessed and I feel privileged to have her stand next to me today.
Aww. Princess Diana.
I
What?
think he just wants to hug her. He just wants to hug her, but they're just kind of standing next to each other very properly.
Aw. Princess Diana, may I ask you a favor?
Hmm.
Woo! Will you please give my boy a hug for me?
She says, for you, I will. Oh, She's hugging him right now. I can see it in my mind.
Woo!
It's almost weird, but it's like Diana has to kind of bend over
How tall is Diana?
for Adam.
How tall is she?
Oh, I don't know how tall she is. I don't do well in feet.
Well, I can
But she
tell
just,
you,
so they're just,
she may be taller than him. I think he's was 5'5", so she may be taller than him.
I think so. It just looks like she has to like bend over a little. Not much,
Oh,
but
that is
it's
so
almost like yeah,
precious. What do you?
he feels shorter.
Ah, whew.
That or she's wearing high heels because I know she wore a lot of high heels.
Yeah. Well, ah,
It's really funny. He's just going, don't make fun of short people.
hey, you know what?
I'm not making fun of short people. I'm short too.
The only thing that matters, as far as I'm concerned, all 5'2" of me, is that my feet reach all the way to the ground. I don't care how high my head goes. That doesn't matter, right? It's whether your feet are
I'm
on the
short too,
ground.
man.
That's right. So, Princess
I always,
Diana,
yeah, there's,
what do you think of my
she said,
boy?
well, let's just say that the work that he's doing at this moment is really an inspiration to all of us over here because he's bringing awareness and he's bringing funness to the spiritual
Aww.
world. He's bringing, you know, simplicity and joy. It's all about understanding, she says, that nothing really changes dramatically, but that we just start vibrating at a different frequency, and with joy, with fun, with happiness, we get there faster. We get there easier.
Yes.
So many people want to connect with us.
Yeah.
They talk to us, pray to us, um, and there's still the illusion of separation. And if you just approach everything with a smile and a giggle and just have fun with it and just see how, um, he says he really brings the spiritual world closer to people on earth, and he makes it accessible. He makes it um, okay to have fun with deceased VIPs, and he
Yes.
allows he allows us to show everyone out there that we go through the same things that other people go through. We
Yeah.
are just like you. There is nothing different about us. The only thing that can be different is maybe our job, but we're still human, or we were still human, and we go through heartaches and pains and struggles just as much as any other person out there. So I think when he combines the understanding that spirits are just as much emotional beings and just as accessible as your next door neighbor, then I think, that is a great thing to do. So I admire him. I'm inspired by him because
Aw.
he's continuing to bring light and love and awareness to a world who desperately needs it at this time.
Thank you so much. Boy, I never in my wildest dreams imagined that my son would be in your presence, let alone that it would be with you on the other side, or that I would have the opportunity to have a conversation with you. Amazing. Just amazing.
She's just saying thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some light on myself and to pass on a beautiful message to my children and my grandchildren.
It is a privilege and a pleasure. Can I ask you, did you have a soul contract to leave early at the time you left? Was it intended that you would leave that soon?
Yes, it was part of a bigger plan.
Okay. Um, was the manner of your leaving predetermined?
In a way, she says, I wasn't going to leave voluntarily. Um, let's just say that I needed to go out with a big impact, because I needed to stop in a way, or I needed to bring awareness in a way to the paparazzi, and to the cruelty that they put people through. And so I started, let's just say that my death not only started kind of a rebellion in the magazine business, because so many other people spoke out and followed, and people stopped buying magazines and things like that. Because it's all about standing up for yourself, and it's all about understanding that these people are, they're invading your privacy. They are stripping you from having any kind of normal life. And it was bad with me. I was the most hunted person of the century,
Yeah.
and you can't even go to the bathroom, and there might be somebody there. That's how bad it was. But
So
so I
unfair.
brought some awareness to that, but also for my boys, and I know this might be hard for them to understand, but my death, um, how would I explain this? She says, my death caused them to hold on to my teaching,
Mm,
to my my love, and everything that I told them, everything that I taught them, um, in order for them to really stay close to me after my death. They really held on to what I wanted them to know, and how I wanted them to live their life. And so it kind of enhanced that, and therefore they never allowed anyone else to take that away from them, because they were so young, so they could have been influenced by so many people, she says,
right,
by
right.
family, and they could have taken everything that I taught them, and basically manipulated it and taken it away. But my death made sure that they would hold on to what I taught them with for dear life, because they loved me so much and I loved them so much. And so that is why they are now following my advice and following their heart, and sometimes going against the rules of the royal house, and basically they're following who they are, instead of them being controlled by other people. So let's just say that my death needed to enhance that holding on to those belief systems that I introduced to them. So there's a lot of
That
things, and also
absolutely
Charles.
makes sense. What were you going to say
You know,
about Charles?
yeah, my death influenced a lot of different things, and also taught a lot of lessons. And one was for Charles. Um, really came to the realization that, and I know this might sound weird, but he came to the realization that in some way or form he might have caused all of this. If he would have been there more, if he would have loved me, I would have never been in that car, and I would have never been there. And so, in some way or form, it made him think and contemplate about the things that he should have done different. So he learned from some of his mistakes, and he's doing good now. He's with a woman that he loved originally, and I wish them both, all the happiness in the world. And I'm glad he finally decided to stand up for himself and to follow his own heart. Um, and yeah, but everything went some people want to change everything. Yeah, but if you'd done this, it would have been different. If
Right.
you'd done that. But she says everything goes according to a plan because if I never had been with Charles, we would have never had William. We would have never had Harry. Uh, she says, whose name is really Henry, but we call him Harry. Um, and she's saying, they needed to have us as parents in order to guide them and get them the lessons that they needed in order to push them in the direction that they're going into now. So everything really happened precisely as it should have. So there are no regrets from my end. I learned so much about myself, about love, about relationships, about being a mom, and about being, a role model to others, and um, being able to use that to help and bring change to the world. So, yeah, everything went the way it's supposed to be. So, no regrets on this end.
So, would you mind elaborating when I am not certain when you talk about the paparazzi's role in your death? Can you clarify that? What role did they play in the car accident?
Well, I think a lot of people, when would blame it on the driver that he had been drinking. Yes, he had a little drink, but he wasn't crazy. He wasn't so drunk that he couldn't stand up. He was, he really knew what he was doing. So what happened was, paparazzi on motorcycles really were following us, and they were banging on the window,
They were
asking
banging
them to
on the
while we were
window of
driving.
the car?
Yeah, so they were next to us, and they were banging on the window to roll it down while we were driving. And so the driver got distracted and tried to kind of wimple them off. I guess that he was trying to get rid of them, and he just got distracted for maybe 1 second, and that's how it happened. So.
Oh,
Um, Paparazzi were really to blame in this accident, not the driver. Um, but it's okay, she says. I forgive them. I forgive them. And everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. So she says, if I can give people advice, don't linger on the negative,
right.
but focus on the positive.
On the positive that came
That's
from
really
the tragedy. When did you transition?
exact.
Did you transition immediately? What was that like for you?
No, actually, I stayed around for a little bit because I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to help my boys,
But I
and
maybe
my
I
family.
okay, so once your spirit left your body, you stayed around the earth plane. When
Right.
did you leave your body immediately when the accident occurred, or did that
Yeah.
happen later?
No, I left immediately.
Okay. Okay. So when you arrived at the hospital,
They tried to resuscitate her, is what they're showing. They might have gotten a pulse back, she says, but the spirit was
the
gone.
spirit
The
was
spirit
gone.
was already out of the body. I didn't go with my body. Um, I did stick around, but my instant thought was my
Your
children. So I
children.
did see my body. I saw my body, and I knew, you just know, there's this feeling of it's okay.
Hmm.
While you're looking at your body, my body was in pretty bad shape. You kind of feel this distance, like, you're just looking at a shell of you.
Right.
And in that moment, as I'm seeing myself, um, my first reaction was my kids.
Hmm.
And as I'm thinking my kids, boom, I'm standing right next to him, So that was my first experience as a spirit, was like instant relocation, which I didn't see coming. It was like boom, boom. I was there. I was like, oh, okay, well that went fast. And so I was there when the family got the phone call and and they were discussing
Oh,
how they were going to present it to the children and all of that. And so I was helping everyone in the family, including Charles, in how do you bring this to them? And so I really tried to guide it in a certain direction so I knew my kids would be able to process it. And then I stuck around for a little bit, even till after the funeral, just to make sure that that they could still sense that I was there,
yeah.
that they could still have a connection with me, and I could really help them with their energy. Because when people go through a grieving process, it's kind of like a shutdown. Your body goes into
Oh, yeah.
lockdown, and
Yeah.
it's like it stops remembering how to function properly, and it really affects your body as well. It's not just the mind, but the body really shuts down too. And so I was trying to help them with their energy, healing them, giving them love, talking to them in their minds, really making sure that they knew that I was there. And that, I could help them with that grieving process so they wouldn't completely collapse
Right.
and not get out of that. And I wanted them to be able to overcome the grief and to grow into the beautiful people that they are today, with open hearts and open arms to the people in need. So that's why I stuck around for a while. Once I felt like, they were doing all right, they were, good enough for me to kind of go home, I left very quickly. And I say very quickly because it really is just an instant. Your
Mm-hmm.
thought, your mind say, okay, I'm ready to go. And as you're thinking that, things change around you, and all of a sudden you're in a different place, and that's when all the clarity, that's when my healing process began.
Right.
Because you do have to shed your human skin and your human emotions, and you start seeing truth and patterns, and you get this insight in everything, and you go, oh, okay, so all of that was meant for this and that and this and that. And so you become your own analyst, you become your own shrink for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit,
Mm-hmm.
and but this time you have all the answers. This time you understand why things are happening. And so that was good. And
That's
now, I
interesting.
still, she says, I'm still helping people today. I am still supporting the poor, the homeless. I am helping as many beings as I can to give them that extra boost that they need, to make some changes. And of course, my children are my priority. I'm still guiding them. I'm always in their hearts and in their minds. So I got my work cut out, she says.
You sure do. Did you have a previous incarnation that prepared you for your role as Princess Diana?
No, I had never been royalty before. If you want to look at it from your timeline,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's probably why how when I became Princess of Wales,
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't relate to anything, and that's just because I never had the experience
Mm-hmm.
before. That's
So
why.
that reminds me, with your permission, I'd like to ask you a question. I think we have a mutual acquaintance, a gentleman by the name of Stuart Pierce.
She's shaking her head. That name sounds very familiar, she says.
Did he not help you somewhat with your image as a princess?
She calls him like a consultant.
Yes, a
I don't know what
consultant.
that.
Well, it's some Stuart Pierce grew up in Buckingham Palace. His father worked with the king, and he helped both Princess Diana and Margaret Thatcher with adding a certain gravitas to the image, if you will.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, from transforming her from the shy country girl that she was, that, couldn't really look at you, to embodying her role as a princess. So it's my understanding that he helped her with that.
She's shaking her head. Yeah, she's just laughing, smiling. She's just shaking her head. Yeah. She's saying that he was a person, a friend as well. It's just giving me the feeling that it was a close friend, and he knew very intimate details about her life as well. Um, but yeah, she likes to see him as a friend, although he was more of a consultant. Um, he would give advice. He would give more than just advice on how to dress and how to be and things like that. He would also give personal advice. So, yeah, she's just saying I loved him.
He's a beautiful, beautiful soul.
Very gentle, she says.
He is
Very
very gentle.
articulated. He's saying articulated. He was always commenting on the way that I would say things.
Well, you know why? Because he was actually the director of voice for Shakespeare's Globe Theater. So the fact he actually helps people,
Oh, okay.
he helps people find their voice.
Yeah, she's just saying he was always like, no, 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 no. That's not how you say it. That's what she's giving me. She's like, she's always embarrassed because she thought she was talking good English, but apparently a lot of the words were kind of twisted around by her. Uh, but he would never, he was, he would never be like a strict teacher. He was so gentle.
Oh, he
And
is.
so, he was always very, he would think very wisely before he would speak. I would say things that just flirted out of my mouth, and I had to learn to think before I spoke, and he taught me that. Um, and so, in some way or form, whenever I would ask a question, he would pause, and then he would give me the perfect answer all the time. That man knew exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. So I'm very grateful that I experienced his presence in my life, she says.
Well, I can tell you that if it wasn't for Stuart Pierce, I wouldn't be talking to you today because he is the gentleman who told me I would have a YouTube channel. And at the time Stuart told me that, I could not get my head around what I could possibly do on YouTube that anybody would watch. I imagined myself playing the banjo, patting my head and rubbing my tummy at the same time. What would I do on YouTube? At the time I was
But he
still
says, Mom, Adam's going, Mom, if you would do that, you would get millions of hits either way.
okay, watch, I can do this. Subscribe, share, and like. It was way easier than I thought. My goodness, what was I hesitating for?
There you go. There you go. Millions of views right there.
So the thing is, if
You're just
Stuart had
laughing.
not put the idea into my head, I would not be doing this. When Adam and Eric, when Eric came on board and the two of them were trying to get me to do this, if Stuart had not planted the seed a year before I actually did it, I would not have done it.
Wow. Crazy.
It is.
Well, see, that's okay. Diana is saying, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Everything happens on purpose, and everything has a reason behind it. Now, don't drive yourself crazy trying to figure out all the reasons behind everything that happened,
Right.
but just create that feeling in your heart that whatever happens will have purpose and meaning, and will create expansion as a soul. And so find comfort in that and find peace in the things that happen to you instead of finding annoyance and stress and frustration. if you can turn that around, she says, you'll feel so much better in your journey.
You know, I love the way you described the process that you underwent after you transitioned. It's almost like we arrive in heaven and we have this box of puzzle pieces. And
Right.
finally somebody gives us a picture on the box. We finally know what the big picture looks like and we can just pop them in and go, oh, yeah, that's what that was about. Rarely
Adam
do.
says it's like an IKEA. It's like when you get your IKEA furniture and you get this explanation of how to put it together, but nothing makes any sense. And then you get to heaven and you get the whole picture, and you're like, "That's how it is."
Exactly. Here, we don't contemplate. We're not grounded. We just dump the ingredients on the floor and we put stuff together and we don't care if we've got 16 screws left over, right?
Right. That's it. That's it. And it's all about understanding that, although life might not make sense to you at this moment, it all
Mm-hmm.
has a purpose, and there's always a reason behind it. And as soon as you let go of that burden of wanting to know and understand everything in detail, she says, you replace it with love and acceptance and joy. Your whole life changes. Your whole life can turn around. And so go ahead and do that, she says. I mean, what do you got to lose? We all go home anyway, so
That's
might as
absolutely
well,
right.
turn it into a pop, right? She says.
That is
To experience it
wonderful
from a
advice. Experience your life
yeah.
from the most positive standpoint possible. I like that. And when a stranger passes you by, look their way and see the same spark in them that started you, right? We're all made of the same thing. And when you look at somebody and you look at them and you see the sameness, you see what you share instead of your differences, it's an entirely different experience. I mean, seriously, boom, you create an energetic connection between you two right in that instant. And just like Adam said, it just immediately lifts you both up. And because you
Mhm.
both got lifted up, as you go your separate ways, you are each going to still draw the same high vibration to you that you just created between you. So it's just amazing.
Adam says you have to see it like a pass it forward or pay it forward,
Pay it forward.
When
I
you
love
say
it.
hello, you
Yeah.
say hello and you smile to a person,
Uh
that
huh.
person will say hello and smile back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next person that person sees might say hello to that other person because you just told him hello. And so what you're doing is you create this chain reaction
That's
of high
right.
vibration,
I love
and
it.
that's how we change the vibration on a global scale. So, you have to look at everything in a bigger picture. You might just say hello, but you might just change 50, 60 other people that person is going to encounter in his next day. He might have gotten up in the morning with a grumpy mood. Maybe he was frustrated or stressed, and
Right.
your hello and your smile and your positive energy might have turned that around for that person and for everybody else he's going to meet that day. So look at it that way, people. You can make a difference in the world by just saying hello.
I love it. Okay, so let's do that, folks. I'm going to ask you personally for Adam. Please say hello. Just say hello to folks. And for Princess Diana, please do something nice for somebody every day. And then send us on the comment feed. Tell us how that worked out for you. We want to hear what happened. Share the
Yes,
love and let
share
us know
share
what
your
happened.
experiences with it. We like to hear feedback, don't we?
We love our feedback. We have got the greatest subscribers ever. Before we say goodbye
That's a
today,
lot.
I'd like to ask Princess Diana if she has a last thought she'd like to leave us with. So, Princess
It
Diana,
stopped.
do you have a last thought you'd like to leave us with before we say goodbye to the folks today?
And I just wanted to say to close off, she just says, help each other, love each other, and share the world with one another. and everything will be headed in a positive direction. And I just want to say to my boys, Charles and Harry, uh, to my she's going Charles too, Harry and William. I love them, and I'm going to support them and encourage them and guide them to go in a positive direction. And I know people are going to say, Charles too. Yes, Charles too, and everybody else who needs my help. Don't be afraid to ask.
I love that. I'm not going to be afraid to ask. I'm going to ask for your help. I'd like for your blessing on our book, Adam's Gift. If you'll put a little bit of your Princess Diana love, sprinkle some of that on there so that it goes out full of love and joy and healing energy.
She says I'll put my little princess sparkles on it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so very much for coming today. It was absolutely delightful talking with you. Thanks for sharing your childhood.
Thank you. Saying thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some love and light to the people.
You're welcome. Thanks for watching, folks. Before we say goodbye, our website is www.adamsgift.net. If you have a question you would like to send to us for our Advice from the Astrals episodes that we'll be doing once a month, you can send your question to cindywilliamsadams@gmail.com. It helps Emma to connect with your energy if she has a name. Our records, if you will, are attached energetically to our names. So, does that make sense? Am I explaining it okay, Emma? Because, some folks...
Yeah, let's just say that, sometimes a question can vibrate. A question is an energetic frequency.
Yeah.
Every question has a specific frequency, but sometimes those frequencies will apply to a lot of different people. And so, because a lot of people are going through the same thing. And if you want your question to be personally for you, I need at least a first name and preferably a last name as well.
Okay, that's great. So we can answer about 10 questions a month. And, generally we are already getting more than what we can answer. What is great about these questions, though, is that often the answers to one person's question generalizes to lots of other people. So that's happening too. That's amazing. And I also want to mention Emma's website, www.emmanuelmacintosh.com.
Yes.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe, share, and like us if you do. And we'll see you next time with Prince.
Yes.
Bye,
guys.